Before we get into the episode, please could you do me a favour and hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you're listening to the podcast. You'll be actively helping our community to grow and for us to reach more people, and it allows us to get great new guests on for future episodes.
Art versus the Algorithm with Will Preisner.
Welcome to Art versus the Algorithm. I'm your host, Will Preisner, and in this episode, I'm joined by fashion nude photographer Nelb Rodrigues. Nelb shares his journey of curiosity and self-discovery, diving into the challenges and artistry of working with the nude form. We explore his evolving creative process, how he balances aesthetics with meaning, and his thoughtful approach to creating images that feel both intentional and impactful. By listening to this episode, you'll discover how Nelb's curiosity led him to develop a distinctive style, why breaking free from creative patterns can unlock new possibilities, and how embracing vulnerability in art can lead to more powerful and authentic work. And don't forget, our competition to win an incredible retro camera is still open. Head over to our Instagram at @artvsalgorithm and watch the reel titled Win This Camera for all the details. Enter before midnight on the 17th of March 2025 for your chance to win, and good luck. So, without further ado, let's get on to episode 7 with Nelb Rodrigues. You're a fashion nude photographer.
Yeah.
What is this, and how would you describe your style?
Okay, so the word fashion is a little bit tricky because it implies that you're using clothes or whatever. I had a difficult relationship starting to be a photographer as an artist, not as a professional, but the artistic side. I have problems try to define me. And for a long time, nude photographer was kind of not an ugly word, but it was not what I used to describe me. It was not my main focus, but it was like my predominant genre photography. So the word fashions is just to imply the aesthetic where I get my inspiration from, which are big photographers like Vincent Peters or Lindbergh or Newton that worked with the nude, but in the fashion. So because I have a little bit of that aesthetic too, I used like fashion nude. A little bit for that reason and a little bit because I think it helps to minimize the impact of the word like nude, which is strong by itself. So I used it like a mean to achieve that.
Right, I see. And how would you describe your style then?
Yeah, it's basically everything related to nude. I'm curious about nudity, about the nude in photography, and everything I can use with it, being dresses or accessories or whatever comes to mind, but used with the nude photography, I mean for experimenting. So basically, it's just nude in all forms, but, well, not all forms because I have like preferences, but it's basically nude.
I see. And how has your style changed or evolved over time?
I'm actually doing a book about this and I will try to sell it, but I don't think it will sell because it's like 500 pages.
Right.
And I don't think anybody will want this. But my idea for this book, which answers the question, is like doing my chronological experience as a nude photographer, which is not in the industry, was not in the industry. My commercial work is not nude. So I began out of curiosity. I shot at the beginning at my parents' place. So then it evolved because I went to live by myself and I had like a girlfriend which lived with me and I shot in the place. I tried to shoot in a garage. Then I tried to shoot like in location and in studio. And right now I'm in open space here in Milan, which allowed me to, you can see up here that I have like a little bit of stuff to build a studio, to study the studio lights by myself and to learn because I didn't study photography. So with every step in my growth as a human being or a man or whatever, every tool I had in the moment. So if I have a place to use, I would use the place. If I had like money to rent a location, I would rent it. I tried to evolve it. So it came out like naturally. I didn't write down, okay, I want to do just studio or natural light or whatever. So it started with natural light, and right now it's mostly studio. And right now my quest is mixing the both. So studio lighting in a environment, in a location, which for me is kind of new because I've done it once or twice. So yeah, my style is evolving along with my photography and the skills that are attached to it.
And on your website, you refer to the fact you're on an artistic journey.
Yeah.
I mean, you've sort of given me a little bit of information about that there, but is there any more you can say about like what that journey is that you're on? Is there like a goal or destination that you're heading towards, do you think?
I don't want to be like famous. Fame is not my goal, but I felt the need to leave something behind or be happy about something you made that will stick with people or just stick around for more than you are. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
I have a little bit of problem with patterns. If I start doing something and my brain sees the pattern, it kind of gets boring. So it happens with jobs, it happens with whatever has a pattern with day to day. If I notice a pattern, I get bored very, very quickly. So I cannot like live a life where my goal is to achieve money and go into vacation and do what I'm supposed to do, like family and stuff. And that's it, because I see this loop around. So I need a goal that needs creativity. And photography was a mean to do it. So with photography, I kind of get to spice things a little bit. And so my journey is to change, and keep changing and make everything less boring and leave something behind, like a growth or, okay, I achieved this. I worked so hard. I learned all by myself. I bought what I had to buy. I went to places I had to go, and I achieved this. Like I built this, and I want to look something I built in the future and be proud and happy about it.
Do you think photography gives you that sort of an endless vehicle for your creativity and to avoid that repetition in life?
Yeah, it does. It depends how you handle it, but it does. It surely does. At the beginning, you see the endless possibilities and you try to do your experiments. As soon as you get a little bit better, it becomes a loop. You do like the same things over and over again, or you copy people. But once you get over this kind of cycle of struggle, that you struggle to build to do something, and it's like the same of the something you already done. And once you go past it, then you have like this like whole view that you can do whatever you want. So the challenge is, okay, what do I do? What can I use with the nude body that be beautiful to look at or watch? And like this thought of what can I do? How can I use it? Which pose I can do is very refreshing. I can do whatever I want to. So I have a very open view for whatever I can do with the nudity.
But you just mentioned as well there about beauty. You want it to be beautiful to look at. Is that part of what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah. It's mostly aesthetic. It can have meaning, but it's mostly aesthetic. And that's it.
And what was it that started you on your journey as a photographer? Was there like a specific moment or event that started you on your path? Could you describe it to me if there was?
On the nude?
Yeah, and photography in general. Like what was the trigger point?
Curiosity, like a genuine curiosity. I was with this girl that had a camera, and I never had like a manual camera before. So all the things mechanical about the camera, like the depth of field and the focus and everything like beginners have as a curiosity. I think we all have like the same curiosity when we pick up the camera at first glance, because the lens does the thing that your eye cannot do or you don't notice, which is focusing and make things out of focus and more light or less light as you shift things. So it was child's play. She had a camera I noticed it, and then she said, "Okay, do you want to play with it?" And I say yes. And I
How old are you at this point?
I'm 22 or 23, not very young.
You were 22 then, or you're 22 now?
Then I'm 32 now. So 10 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, you're looking good for 32.
Thank you. And I used to go to the gym a lot because I was very, very skinny. I was like 50 kilos and I'm 1 meter and 80.
Oh, I know this. This is my problem too.
Yeah, so I went to the gym like a lot, and it was like my fixation. I had to go to the gym or train at home to get bigger. So when I was with this girl, I was like training hard and whatever, and I got from 50 kilos to 80 roughly, and I was like looking good. I thought I looked good. It was still like my obsession. When I picked the camera, and at the same time, like 1 month later, we broke up. My obsession changed from gym to shoot like even drops of water on the street. I don't know, whatever. Everything was so quickly during that time because I was starting like a new job, an office job. And I used like my first salary to buy a camera. And from there, I started like to shoot portraits and went on, but was genuine curiosity at first. Like, what can I do? Oh, there are like a lot of lenses. What? And it was a nice, refreshing view on the world around me.
Okay, amazing. And then how did that transform into shooting nudes? What was the like spark for that?
I started like with portraits, but I was shooting whatever comes to mind. I was shooting stars and landscapes and street. And I was posting things on Facebook and whatever. And I saw the rising of many photographers doing like glamour kind of nude, which I don't understand, but whatever. And
what do you mean by that? Glamour nude?
It's not a specific style. It's kind of implied nudity mixed up with beauty. But I see on the amateur side, we are talking about the amateur side, which I was on, a mean to undress the girl. And you cannot undress the girl because maybe they are not available to do like nude stuff or lingerie stuff or whatever. And it is sort of a limbo where everything goes, because the woman is feeling pretty, but she's also undressing. It's kind of a mix, and I don't get it like much.
Okay.
So I started with like portraits, and I was shooting many genres. And at some point, I saw like the rising of this, many photographers doing this. And I was curious, but not so much at the beginning. But I wanted to try because I've tried everything. And my nude pictures were picking up more traction than the rest. And they were not good at all, but they were getting some traction.
Yeah.
Like if a girl posted it, or if I posted it, like groups and whatever. Things I don't do anymore, like haven't done like in a long time. I deleted my Facebook account. But at that time, like 10 years ago, that was the main part of like photography, was the Instagram then. Instagram was not a thing. Or if it was, I wasn't on it.
And you've had your work in 2 exhibitions?
Yeah, I didn't do an exhibition by myself. I participated to 2 exhibitions. Like I was in Imagination Paris. They do this kind of thing that they expose the work of amateur photographers and professional ones. And they try to tour cities, and they have places where you can like pay to expose your art. And they offered me one spot in Paris, and then they offered me one spot in New York. And I say, okay, yeah. And I just participated. It was nothing like super serious or fancy. I plan to do it one day. I already printed some stuff, but I'm thinking about it still.
And did you find that like gave you any benefit to do those exhibitions?
No. It was kind of like good to see me there, but I don't have a really good vision, not about them specifically, but I think it's better to save up and do it alone, because people will be focused on your work and will come for you. In that specifically events, you see all the photographers that took the pictures and they are like with other people. And it could be a nice way of knowing other photographers you already follow, for that, for sure. But if you want to find like clients or models interested in your work or people to follow you, it didn't work so much for me, but maybe for other people it did, like for people in the cover of the event or something. But for me, like I got like a few people like asking for my work, but not maybe traveling to go and actually see the exhibition, maybe in Paris or New York. Like going there is not. Well, it was up to me to go to people and present myself and doing whatever, but I'm not that kind of person. Maybe if someone else is suitable for them.
And you've referred to you having curiosity, and that's been a main driving force as to why you wanted to become a photographer. Where do you think that curiosity comes from? Like, why would you have that curiosity, for example, instead of someone else who wouldn't have an interest?
Oh, I think it's just character. I have this curiosity for everything I have to do. I struggle with like patterns, as I told you. So if you ask me to do one job in one way, it will get very, very boring if I'm not thinking about many ways to do the same thing. And this is also because I have a background of computer stuff. Mm-hmm. Like I studied computer stuff, like programming and stuff. And one thing we did with the professor was optimizing stuff. He gave you like a good grade for doing your job, but the main part of the grade was optimizing what you're doing, because for him it was the main part. If the software runs, it's okay. But if it's not optimized, then you are just as other people. So this constant research for optimization, what you can do better, what you can improve. Okay, can you do it like in another way that is faster or whatever? It sparked my curiosity again when I was in high school. And this way of seeing things, I think it became part of me. So I cannot do anything without thinking in ways to optimize it, or ways to do it better, or ways to do it different. And I think it creates endless possibilities for everything, or at least I try to.
I see that you're a prolific photographer.
Oh, I look like I am, but I'm not.
You're selling it well.
Yeah, because I'm always behind, so I have a lot of work to edit.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, and and when I shoot, I don't shoot one idea. I shoot like 3-4 ideas.
Yeah.
So maybe you have 2 girls, right, or models, and I have 4 ideas with this girl and 3 ideas with this one, and I have another like 4 ideas and 3. And if you put it like this, because I separate sets from sets, it seems like I've shot the same girl like more than once in 6 months. Maybe I shot her 3 times, 4 times.
Because you're releasing it by alternating with the models that you shot.
Because I'm also editing it very, very slowly. So part from part. And so it seems like I'm doing like work every time, but maybe I just shot once or twice.
So the editing takes longer than the shooting?
Yeah, it's more the choosing, because I shoot a lot.
Making selects?
Yeah, selecting is nightmare for me.
Do you have a process for that, or is it something you're working on?
I don't. I just try to normally take the shit ones, autofocus or eyes closed and whatever, first part. And then I try to make small groups so I can see them on the screen together. If I see like one by one, they seem like all very cool to me, because maybe it's the same pose. Then I try to see every group together. So if I have one pose or one idea, I will have all on the screen. And seeing all, I will select 1 or 2 or maybe 3 max. And then I will delete like everything else. Because if I keep them, I will want to edit them tomorrow and will create more and more work I don't need. So I try to get detached from the good pictures that are not useful.
And what is the main spark in you that gives you a sense of that's the photo that I want to keep?
It's difficult to explain. Sometimes it feels right. Like it just feels right. And sometimes it's hard for me to make the selection because I'm looking at it and maybe I think one picture is better than the other. And then I see like maybe a small change in the pose that I don't like, that I cannot unsee. So I have to select the other. The struggle is not selecting right, but understanding my mood in selecting. If I see that I'm very rushy, that I have to do like things like quickly because I have another task to do, I have to understand that I'm in that mood. So I cannot make mistakes and delete good photos that I would want to use.
And can a photo for you ever be kind of technically great, but the feeling isn't there? And you might select a photo where it isn't as technically as good necessarily, but the feeling is there.
The feeling is there because for me also the aesthetic part is there. Because for me, on my work is connected. So when I see one that is perfect, I kind of struggle seeing it as my photo. Because sometimes I see like technically perfect or doing with rules and whatever that other people use for their work. And it's kind of seeing someone else's work. And for the ones I select, most of the time, both things are connected. So the aesthetic is there for like 10 pictures, but the feeling is good like just for one or two. And I will have to like delete everything else.
Is it painful to delete the other ones?
It was in the past. I was so attached to my pictures, brother. I was so attached to like every picture. I kept the raw files for everything. Oh no, if I go back and I edit this picture and do this stuff and I do this stuff, oh, this work is so good. Like every picture is good. Like it's the same pose for like 20 pictures. And in the past was like this. But now I find myself more mature if I let it go. Like if I delete it.
You seem very self-aware in the way you're answering questions. And I'm just wondering whether you think that being self-aware is important to being a photographer?
It's not important to be a photographer, but I think doing photography improves your self-awareness much. In relationship with other people, in relationship with like how you view the world, in relationship as business, how do you want to make your money, maybe, in relationship as everything. Whatever you're doing in photography and in other arts, not just photography, it helps you to be self-aware of who you are at that time and maybe what are you feeling. There's a little bit of therapy in there too, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely relate to that feeling of not intentionally, but as a result of having done photography, where I've created the concept of the shoot and pushed the whole project, my self-awareness as a result has grown because I've seen how I've tried to use photography to understand myself better. I didn't know about it at the time, but now looking back, I can see that was perhaps some subconscious motivation behind it. You mentioned mood boarding. I was just wondering if you'd be up for just kind of briefly taking me through your process of planning and developing a concept.
If I'm interested in a model and she wants to see something that I want to do, it's very hard for me because sometimes I want to do something that I cannot like find around. So all the wide angle work I did, I couldn't make a mood board for that. So it's very hard for me to put a mood board together. And I did mood boards for the nude photography only when I was trying to understand how to communicate with people the limits of the nude I was going to do, because that was very important in general. And I understood that with time.
Right, okay.
Because that's my part of selecting people. If there is a model or a girl that never shot before, and say, oh, I want to participate in your photography, how can I do it? And I will ask you two things. One, I have to see, not fully naked, but I have to see which body she has. If it's a private account with a cat on the profile, I cannot like go, okay, come. I don't
Yeah.
know. And the second thing is, what are your boundaries? And I discovered that most, I will say women because I don't shoot a lot of men. Most of women, they don't set boundaries, or they don't have the awareness when I ask them that question. They ask, what do you say about boundaries? Like in the nude, I said, what are you available to do? What you're not available to do? What you can experiment? What can you not do? And I guess always I find myself making them think about the reality they are going to do. Like it's a nude shooting. So you are going to be nude. And they started saying, oh, yeah, I will be nude. Okay, it can be viewed as vulgar or extreme or soft or implied or explicit or whatever. They start thinking about that and they start to realize what it is. And once they realize what it is, then they start to say, okay, this I will not do. This is I will not do. I can do this. I seen this on your picture. I can try. And they say, okay for this, okay for that. But unless you show them specifically what it is, they don't have any idea.
What is it about shooting with women and specifically nude that most draws you?
It's just the female body, just because I like it. So when it started, I like the sky and I like the stars. Let's shoot that. I like the sunsets. Let's shoot that. So I like boobs. And I said, let's shoot that. And I find myself, at the beginning, I was creating without very self-awareness or work awareness, call it as you want. But as I grew as a photographer, I started like, okay, I like this part. And I like this part like this. And I like this like that. And some days I wake up and say, okay, I don't like this. I will shoot this. So it started as a preference that roots into my heterosexuality. So I like girls, let's shoot girls. But with time, it became whatever I want it to become. So right now I'm vertical with women, and many people say, why don't you shoot like men and stuff? And I want to grow with the female body. So if I start like shooting also men, I will grow not very slowly, but slower than I'm doing today, because I'm specializing in the female form.
Yeah, okay. Deep diving in it.
Yeah. I shoot men, like I shot men, like for some campaigns or other work. I have like male model friends. I shot them like in couple. And it's nice. Like I was very into it. Like I was very like working with the structure of the muscles and the body and whatever. But at the same time, when I think about, okay, I want to dedicate my time to do photography. And I think, okay, if I do men today, it's like starting a new journey. Because if I want to become like good with men, I think I will have to dedicate myself to that a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think I will have to feel it. I'm already feeling something in these months. Like, okay, I have these friends. They look good. I saw these pictures on this aesthetic, or I have already this aesthetic for women. Would that work for the man? And this sparks the curiosity, and I think about it and I write it down. So it's not that I'm not, just because I'm not like shooting, that I'm not like thinking about it or evaluating or talking with people or, I don't know, planning. It will come eventually. But right now, I think I need to consolidate like my point of view. I did this journey and it brought me here. And then with that, I can work with other stuff. I can bring that to other stuff like men.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that by choosing to shoot with the female form, you are put in a position to have to explain yourself in more detail and your reasons why than when you were shooting the sky or the sunset?
Yeah, a lot.
I suppose someone could be like, why'd you shoot the sky? Explain in great detail. I need to understand. Like,
no one's asked
no one's ever asked that. But why do you think that people do ask the question I just asked you?
They want to get you. Like, they want to understand if you are a pervert or not. They want to discover your intentions. At this point in time, they want to really uncover you, like, gotcha. I know you do this because you like boobs or whatever. Shooting nude is not safe. It's not like shooting in the sky. You have contact with the intimacy of people. So it's already vulnerable. You can hurt people with that, you know. It can be a weapon. Like, it can be whatever you want it to be. It can be like, you can really hurt the people's image with nudity. So people know that. As much as people want, oh, nude accepted everywhere and whatever, they know that is a very dangerous thing. So when they see that I'm shooting women, they say, oh, okay, you're a basic man that wants to see boobs or ass or be with nice girls every time, so you shoot that. But I have many people I know, which are kind of like friends, you know, like people you know on the job and you say hi every time and you talk with the Instagram.
Like acquaintances.
Yeah, acquaintances. They are gay and they shoot like men, but I don't see anyone asking why they shoot men. Yeah, I'm comparing the two things. Yeah, they don't ask them. They will have like other problems, but this is not one of those problems. This is more us shooting women. Even women shooting women, there is no problem. Women shooting men, I see less problems. I don't know. I will have to ask someone, but not many problems. It's just men shooting women.
What's your experience been like with models asking if they can bring like a chaperone, like a friend or a partner with them onto a shoot?
Yeah. So in the beginning, I said yes a couple times because, think about the safety of the model and how she's going to feel there. And you make that a priority. So you make like the model, not the model, but the girl feel safe. I'm not going to like do anything. I'm not going to hurt you. Not because there is another person there, but because we are here to work and do like great photos. And I totally understand that. But at the same time, I did it like 2-3 times and it didn't go well. Having someone there is not doing anything for the shooting. It wasn't good for the final result, for the outcome. I had like friends chatting and creating a funny vibe that I didn't want to create. And I didn't want to say, okay, no, don't do this, don't do that. Let's stop like chatting, because you break the synergy between you and the model because you're telling her not to chat with a friend. You know, it becomes very, very weird for me to shoot. I always tell that if it's a job, you can bring your whole family. I will shoot you. And if by any chance you're chatting with your grandma or your father or you're petting your dog and the photo didn't come out as my work, it's your fault. I get the money, you get the result. And the result is up to you. So I can meet outside of the studio. Like I met with the parents, I met with boyfriends or spouses. It's not a problem for me to meet them or to talk to them. It's not that I don't want to do that. It's just that while I'm working, I want just people that is doing something for the work. So I've worked with the models that had the boyfriend doing the assistant for me because I needed an assistant, not because I had to invent something for him to do, you know? Mm-hmm. So I needed an assistant and she said, oh, my boyfriend can assist you. Can you do that? Okay, let's do it. And I shot and it was great. But if I don't need an assistant, I don't need to be thinking about what you're doing and blah, blah, blah. That is a little bit controversial and maybe sketchy for some people. I totally respect that. I find myself doing the opposite. Maybe I had some girl like 22, 3 years old girl doing it for the first time. And I asked her if someone knew that she was there like shooting with me. And she said, no, I didn't tell anyone. And I said, well, you don't know me. Don't do that ever again because it's bad for me and it's bad for you. So next time, even if you don't want people to know that you're shooting nude, at least find one person to say, oh, I will be here with this photographer and we will be shooting. I will tell you when I go out, blah, blah, blah. take your precautions, even if you trust the photographer. It's not wrong to do that. I support that.
Okay, I see. I mean, I can relate to what you're saying. I had similar challenges with regards to models asking if they can bring a partner or a friend, and had also similar scenarios where it was like, I kind of developed a rule where if they wanted to bring a partner or a friend, it could happen, but only if they were in a different room that was sort of far enough away that they're not involved and can't hear and can't anything.
Yeah.
Or they're in a different building across the street, they're in a cafe, or, if that's the only way. But I decided I'm not there to get involved in, especially in relationships, I'm not there to get involved in the relationship dynamics of people. And I think that for some people, it can sound great that your partner's going to go and shoot these nude photos and you're going to assist. I didn't want to be in a position where I'm suddenly the third person in a room where their partner has removed their clothes. And it's the first time that this person has ever seen another person look at their partner in that way. And I didn't want to be involved in that dynamic and put myself in that position, because that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to create art. I'm not here to get involved in someone else's relationship dynamic.
Yeah. Totally understand.
So that was the main driver for me. And also, I watched a tutorial a long time ago by this photographer called Lindsay Adler. I'm sure you've probably heard of her. She shoots nudes, and she specifically stated she won't allow anyone, any friend or partner in that.
For her, it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, because she's a woman and she's very famous, but still, when she described it in the same way, it's not sketchy or weird. It's what's necessary in order to create the work that she's trying to create. And like you say, like we've talked about earlier, trust is such an important part, and it's vital that that's there. And do you think is there anything in your past that might have impacted your approach and kind of mentality towards nudity in art and photography? Anything from when you were a child, or anything that's kind of given you a more open mind about it being art?
Oh, no. My background is a church background, man. I couldn't be more close to it. It's a very curious thing. So I'm not in favor of nudity everywhere. At first, I had this vision that it was not okay, that is a private thing, then should be and remain private in every sense. But then you find yourself looking at paintings and some photography and some work that is really, really good. And with time, I didn't think about every day, but as I grew up as a photographer, I tried to think about those matters. And I think even if intimacy is a very sensible thing, vulnerable thing, if the purpose is building art, then there is nothing wrong with it. As long as the people involved know what they are going to do and the outcome of it. I don't know if I explained myself very well on this one. But I am not so open about nudity. People watch my work. Maybe I go on vacation. No, I went to Portugal once. But someone wrote me, "Oh, there is nudist beach not far away from you," because they think just because I shoot nude that I'm nude every time, that I will go around naked, and that I see it normal. It's not like that. I value my nudity as much as I value my subject's nudity. As much as if I don't make art with a nude body, I might as well just delete the picture and don't use it. And for me, it's a trade. You give up your nudity, which is very, very valuable, for me to create something that is as valuable as or more valuable in the art form. If I create something that is trashy or is not good enough or amateur, then it's not worth you undressing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're giving me your value. I have to make a good use of it. If I cannot make that, use that an experiment. Don't show people, because the dangerous part is not doing it. The dangerous part is showing it to the public. And you have to be very careful with it, I think.
We're looking for figurative artists, photographers, models, and activists. If you'd like to be a guest on Art versus the Algorithm, reach out to us on our social channels at Art vs Algorithm, and let's chat.
Kind of touched on what we were talking about before, but have you ever had any pushback in your personal life to shooting nudes and working with women, like either from friends or family or in your romantic relationships?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like my parents, they, I showed it to them and they didn't like it at first. But then showing more work and growing, they started liking it. Like my mother was not a fan of my work at all at the beginning, but she didn't know. I didn't tell her. But then she became a fan of the work because I grew and I took like things like professionally and I started like doing very good pictures maybe. And she started to give me advices. So at the beginning, she didn't want to see the pictures. But then she was like, oh, you did this here. I didn't like it so well, but this other picture is very, very cool. But too much. It was funny how things evolved. They became more aware of, like me, what it is to have a church background, but at the same time deal with nudity in the right way. Let's say it like this. And from romantic perspective, yeah, jealousy is, I had it like in the past and you cannot go away from it. I think that there is there one day and the day after is not there. Is your environment. And sometimes you have to talk like with the girls or with people in general, and you have to answer, or you have that message that you didn't want to receive in late at night. Maybe someone wants to write to you on Instagram and you look at it and the other person sees that you're messaging and thinks, oh, you're messaging with another girl. Like that kind of like dynamic, it doesn't change. As much as you want it to change, you have to set boundaries for the work part to mitigate it as much as you can. But it never gets easy. It wouldn't for me. People think that because I shoot naked women, that I could stand if like my girl shot like naked men. But I could not. I don't know what it is to be on the other side. I really don't. I just know what it is like my job to do things at best. And I try to do it. And if there's something I can improve, I try to improve it. There is no shame about it.
How would you sum up the effects that creating like work as a photographer, how does it make you feel emotionally?
I guess as all passions do, it becomes your way of escaping sometimes. And so it makes me feel like safe for being one, good at something, because I've done like my time thinking, oh, I am not good enough. Yeah, I'm not good enough comparing myself with the person I want to be, like the photographer I want to be in the future. Like for the growth part, I'm comparing myself, but I'm not doing that thing anymore that I'm saying, oh, I'm not good. Like I think I became like good in shooting in my style and I like it. So going back to something you're good at or you feel good at, it's very refreshing if other stuff is not going so great. If you have other type of problems or you did something which you're not very good at and you feel like, or you think you failed in some things, in not just in life, but whatever it is. Maybe even I did like a video, so not formal art, and the video was not so great. Photography, like my main part, and nudity and that genre is my escape to feel better also. So I go there and I see my image and I tell to myself, oh, I rock. I'm great. And that helps me. I tried to explain this on Threads to another photographer, but it came out really, really wrong. So I thought a long time about this. And it's not that I think I'm better than everyone else. It's not that. Or that I'm better than my fellow photographer friend. It's not that. It's more like, ads of sports when they put the headphone on and they listen to music and say, oh, I'm better. I'm better than everyone else. I will do this and do that. That kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Not that I'm really better, is that I have to think it to do it.
Yeah,
because if you convince yourself that you're the best basketball player in that game that night, maybe you will perform that much better. But if you're there thinking, oh, I'm a loser, I'm a failure, you're not accomplish good things.
I completely understand what you mean, because I'm a runner. Like, I run quite a lot, but I'm like a short distance, quite fast runner. I don't do like ultra marathons or marathons or anything. I run like 5K fast, like, you know, and less sometimes. So for me, when I approach doing that, I have to have this attitude of, even when I'm running with other people, just in my head of like, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to, but I've had this since I was 10 years old. Like, when I used to do running at school, my approach had to be like, I'm going to win, even if it's just like a tiny little race. I went on the running track on my own a couple of weeks ago to try and break a record that I had. Personally, I was on my own on the track. I still had to have the mentality on that track of I'm like a winner, even though I was racing no one else and there was no one else there that day. Like, literally, I was alone. So
I think it helps a lot.
Yeah, it's just to drive you. I don't know whether it's a male thing as well. I'm not entirely sure whether it's exclusive to
I think
us,
a little bit it is.
It
It's
does
a little bit of
definitely help.
character, but we have it as well as males. Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't need to also pair that with the mentality of needing to take someone else down, because I think sometimes people have that mixed in. I think I see them as two separate things. I can position myself as a winner without needing someone else to be destroyed, you know. But I just want to talk about censorship. And just to start, I just want to ask you, what is it that differentiates the nudity in your work from the nudity in pornography?
Yeah, the difference is because my aim is not to pleasure people in the very like sexual way. But it's not that because my aim is not that it cannot happen. I'm sure it happened. But if pornography is not making you like feel that arousing and whatever you feel, it's not doing it right.
You have just made me think of a sort of parallel universe where people might look at pornography for its artistic value as opposed to arousal. And I'm like, I wonder if there's anyone that actually does that.
Like, maybe they do, but they do
it, perhaps, like
with arousal. Like, you have to be like very into it and doing like for sexual pleasure, because otherwise pornography is not doing what it's supposed to do. The art part, it could be mean to arouse you as well, but porn could be art as well. It's not that I don't agree, but it's not my vision. But there is not any sexual explicit intention in the photo. So as society goes, the line changes between pornography and everything else. But as far as we are today, I think it is the sexual pleasure. So if I'm showing you sexual pleasure because my aim is to make you feel that and not just documenting that, or is not making you think about other stuff or challenging yourself in any way, then I guess it is pornography. Or it is pornography in any case, but has a value added to it.
Yeah.
So if for sexual pleasure, but you have something else too, maybe be porn with some artistic stuff inside. If it's just for sexual pleasure, it's just porn. And if it has an artistic side that before the main part is not to arouse you, maybe it makes you feel a little bit of spicy and whatever, but it's not the main purpose. You see that there is another purpose. If one person is attracted like to big breasts, like I do, and they look at my picture, and the first thing they say is not, okay, this make me feel like so aroused. So they do not say that. At least what they told me is that. But it doesn't mean that that is not a little part of the experience of watching it, you know? But it's not the main part. You clearly see that it's not meant for it. You can use it that way too, but it's not meant for it. With porn, you clearly see that it's meant for you to feel aroused and to pleasure yourself or watch it for that reason.
And have you ever experienced any censorship of your work online or offline?
Oh, just Instagram. Other platforms didn't do it. Like there was one exhibition, I think it was the Paris one, where I have a print of a girl. She was holding a lamp or something. She was naked. And in the choosing of the images, I had to agree to choose the one which was not showing the pube because the pube was shaved. And the person who I was talking to say, "Oh, I don't know. Maybe in Paris they will see it as not a good behavior. This is a woman that is not like natural, so is not free. It's kind of slave of the society because she saves herself, all the stuff like that." And I had to agree on this, even though I think it's crazy.
Isn't she
But
projecting her ideas onto your work there?
yeah, I think that this person was afraid to some kind of backlash of some kind. Or maybe it was too explicit for the exposition and he told me that way. I don't really know. But I didn't suffer much censorship on my work, just on Instagram.
And with the censorship on Instagram, why do you think that your work has been censored there or that you need to censor it?
Oh, are you asking me if I think it's right or wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's right.
Why is that?
Because otherwise there wouldn't be a difference between my work and a girl's nude selfie. You cannot prove the artistic value. There is not objectively proved. So if a girl makes a selfie of her naked and I have my artistic photo shot in the location with lights and stuff, models and preparation or whatever, you can argue that it's the same thing. And in a public platform, they cannot judge that. So they have to treat it as equal. And if anyone could post nude stuff, it will be a porn site. Wherever the nude goes, it will go into art, degenerate into whatever is sexual, and then transform into porn. We cannot limit ourselves, like as society and public. We will always transform it into sexual and porn and attracting and that sort of behavior. I just think they are doing very, very in a poor manner.
In terms of when you just described those categories of how it would descend, do you think that there'd be any way for them to just hold it in the artistic section, like to be able to find a way to judge it to be that?
I don't think so, because the artistic value is not, you cannot prove it. If you ask someone, is this artistic for you? And the person will say, oh, not much. Then you ask other 10 people and they will say, oh, this is really great art. And so as this platform has hundreds and hundreds of people working, they will all have different guidelines. There cannot be a guideline for, okay, it shows this, then it is artistic. It shows that, then it's not artistic. You might as well remove everything. And I think it gives more value, because if I show like everything online, nobody will buy the book or buy the print or come to see the exhibition. I think for the nudity, there is a time and place to place it in a way that is appealing, and at the same time very magical and mysterious and like good. It could be anything you want, but there is a time and place for that to feel like it's valuable.
So you're kind of taking that restriction and using it to benefit your process and your work.
Yeah, of course. I think everybody does that. And I think it's beneficial for everybody, because there is another app that is rising recently. It's called the Photo app, Photo.
Is that FOTO?
Yeah, with a red background. Mm-hmm. And they are testing, and you can post nudity there, right. But you will see, like scrolling down, you will not see very artistic things. You'll see old people with cocks out and tits out and boobs out and very amateur stuff. The expression of the mass will never be like art. The art, I think, it's always in the expression of a few. So if you leave everybody open to nudity and there is anything limiting one thing to another, it's just nude people everywhere.
So I see that you use Patreon like behind a paywall. Do you think that's a better way to go about it?
I thought along about Patreon. I didn't want to do it at first. I had my website with the photos on it, but I noticed that
uncensored was that?
Yeah, uncensored. It was like full quality, uncensored, and I wanted to show it to the world. And I quickly understand that people will save it and they will send it around, they will print it, they will do whatever they want with your pictures. Most of the time, because you have like the full quality uncensored, they will lose quality, value, not quality, sorry, over time because, I already saw that. Show me more, because you will attract that kind of person. It doesn't mean that you don't, like in my website right now is explicit, like is uncensored. You see, like when you open it, you have the video and you have the photos, okay. But there is not an archive. Like I did like many pictures. So I had to find a place that I could do as an archive for my pictures. And Patreon offered me doing that, but at the same time, earning something that often goes out with locations and models. It's just money floating around. I don't see the money. It's like you take and you say to the model, yeah, yours. And you should. Because I don't do it for job like the nude part. I do it to do the fuck I want. To do whatever I want, I have to pay one person, the model, or give other benefits. If it's a regular girl that never shot before, I shoot for free. I give her the image, not full quality, but I give her the images. I make her anonymous and whatever she asks me to, and she can participate. If it's a model that works with that and says, okay, I want to do a collaboration, I explain it. But my main focus is to have this sustainable loop, which I don't bleed too much to do what I like to do.
And do you find that works for you?
It is. I just faced the same problem with high-res pictures, so I don't post for high-res anymore, and I don't market the Patreon. I don't want to sell the pictures. I'm not interested in selling the pictures. I'm interested. You want to see what I did for 10 years, you can go and see. That's it. But I don't market it. I don't like post stories often. Here is my Patreon, you can go. I just maybe write under a post or two every once in a while. But that's it. I don't market it very often. And I don't create connections with people that follows me there. Patreon is meant for that. Okay, they follow you, they pay you, and so you create connections with them. But the people that pay for this Patreon, there are two kinds of people. Either they are photographers that want to like have a full vision on your work, and they will not reach you on Patreon to ask you stuff. They will reach you on Instagram. And so the other kind of people is men or women that wants to see that specifically model naked. And they will ask you, you will shoot her more another time, blah, blah, blah. And I would have to answer, no. Do you have any photo? It's always like the same kind of questions, you know? So I don't have like anything driving me to create connections with that kind of people. They respect the work because they don't insult or they don't insult the model or me. But I'm not here like to shoot that woman naked because you want to see it and no, it doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. If you want to see, pay, see the archives, everything, blah, 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 etc. That's it.
Yeah, they're not commissioning you to do work.
I don't commission, ever. No. It happened like recently, a couple asked me, she wanted to do work with me and she saw one picture I took and she wanted to do the same. And I told her, look, if you can ask another photographer to copy my photo, but that is the photo. We can do something along those vibes and I can decide and I can create and you can pay me for it and I will give it to you. But I cannot create the same thing for you. It doesn't work that way. I don't accept that. Maybe for a painter is not that big of a deal. But for me, like creating 3, 4, 5 photos all the same, because I know what I did and how I did it. So I don't know. I try not to.
Yeah, I can understand why you would say no to that. And you also have a Telegram.
Yeah.
What benefit does that have?
The Telegram is just because I didn't want people paying Patreon without knowing which set was on, because I'm always late with the edits. So if I post one picture of a model and they will think, oh, this set is already on Patreon, and they will go subscribe there. I don't want them to do that. So when I post something, I post it free on Telegram. Like, okay, this set is online, or maybe I did this part or whatever. So people can be updated for free and not like being into the paid platform. And I want to create like a little public for me to say, oh, I have an exhibition one day. So I know that everybody there is interested, or I have a book. It replaced the newsletter, more or less. Yeah.
I see what you mean. And why do you think that photography over other art forms specifically is particularly sensitive to censorship?
I guess we struggle with censorship in different ways with other art forms. In photography, we are dealing with identities, not with just like bodies. You have identities inside photography. You cannot do photography without the identity of a person in it. Like you can do like landscapes and that type of stuff, but you cannot do a portrait without the identity of the person in it. What you can do is make that person play a character for your portrait. So it's kind of shooting an actor that's it's behaving like the character. But even then, you know who the actor is. So the identity of the actor is there, and you know that he's playing another character. So when you have the identity of people in your hands, it becomes very, very intimate right away, everything from portraits to body to whatever. And we struggle with the censorship, meaning that, okay, you cannot freely use the other people's identity or bodies as you please, as you want to, like in every public space. It's like being naked around. You cannot do that. So I don't struggle with censorships. I struggle with missing guidelines. For Instagram, in example, they could do it so much better if they could analyze the photo before making it public. Why do I have to post it for you to say to me that I could not post it? Can I just like say, oh, I want to post this? You analyze it and you say yes or no, and then you post it or not.
I suppose that is something with the technology we have nowadays that could happen instantly. As soon as you select the photo, whilst you're writing the text or whatever else you're adding with your post, it could probably have done that and given you feedback.
Yeah, they will have their reasons. I don't want to speculate on that, but they have their reasons to keep just the right amount of nudity or things outside of the guidelines just for people to keep fueling it, you know?
Yeah, and I think there's also a disparity between people who have larger profiles with more followers and what they're able to post.
Yeah,
and
I
not
guess,
have
yes.
removed.
I don't struggle with that. I struggled in the past because I was envious of that people, but right now I don't. Like, I'm just happy that I didn't got like deleted. That's all. But my work is my work, and I could start posting tomorrow, and the same people will see my work and they will start following me again. I lose just the appeal to the other people. Like if some like subjects think, oh, I'm gonna shoot with that guy because he has like that many followers and blah blah. And my followers are not huge, like they are like mid. So I would lose that, but nothing more.
So if you were to have your Instagram account deleted today, you wouldn't feel too bothered about it?
I would feel bothered because of things I created and posted and whatever, and starting doing that again would be like painful, but no more than that. Yeah, no more than that. Maybe just because right now I did YouTube in the past and I did like reviews in Italian of lenses and something like that.
I've watched one of them.
Oh, thank you.
Some research.
And I had like things brands send me that helped me like reduce the cost of photography, which helped a lot. And I know that right now I could ask some brands to send me stuff like the 9mm that I used to create the new nude I'm doing right now, a 9mm. That was given by a brand. They contacted me and then I asked for another lens and I got that lens and I started like this new perspective, super wide on nude. And that helped me a lot to, even if the cost is not much for that lens, but it helped me to achieve stuff.
And the brand had no issue with associating with nude photography. There was no...
Oh, they wanted something different. So I did like a YouTube video about Milan and landscapes in Milan and street photography with 9mm and how the vision is and blah, blah, blah. But I also told about my nude in the same video. And I was explicit as well, like uncensored on YouTube. So yeah, they didn't have a problem with that. But it could not be only nude. It should be like something else first, then nude.
Okay.
But yeah, I would lose that. And that for me is a great advantage sometimes. Maybe I want like 200 euros lens that a brand has and I can do like some content for it and I can ask it instead of like taking my money.
Yeah.
And for me, it works.
It's a resource, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming to the end now. I really appreciate you answering all the questions that I've posed with like such thought. And it's been really intriguing for me to hear your opinions. When we spoke before, you kind of warned me that we may have a difference of opinion. I don't think we necessarily do, but it's just very interesting to hear your thoughts on it. And just to end the podcast, on Art versus the Algorithm, I'm kind of started a tradition where we have a lighthearted end to the show with the final question. So I want you to pick a body part from a list that I'm going to read out, and each one corresponds to a question. Once I've asked you the question, I'll ask you to fill in that gap with your own question after we've finished the podcast, which can be a fun or deadly serious question for a future guest to answer. So you need to choose from either nose, legs, boobs, bum, or hips.
Boobs.
Okay,
Boobs.
I had a feeling you might answer that.
Of course.
With that one.
Of course.
Okay, well, if humans were to evolve over time, what body part do you think would become unnecessary and we would evolve to no longer need?
That is a very, very good question. I can think about a strange future with no teeth. People just ingest something and they're good with it. And people don't poo anymore. They just pee.
Why do you think we would evolve for that to be the case?
I don't know. It gets easier. You don't have to eat anymore. It's just and.
Oh yeah, I suppose that would be beneficial, not having to pause for hydration and the food constantly.
Yeah,
and the
or maybe you have to pause more, but you eat less. Yeah. I don't know. It was a strange thought at the moment.
That's completely fine. But yeah, thank you for coming on Art versus the Algorithm. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And being so positive in your responses and stuff. And I hope that we get a chance to like meet in future in person and have a chat.
It would be a blast.
But yeah, man, it's great to chat to you. And I hope you have a nice rest of your Sunday. I hope it's not taking up too much time.
No, I have a very, very good time like talking to you about this stuff. It makes me think more about these subjects.
Art versus the algorithm. So, which side are you on? You've been listening to Art versus the Algorithm, hosted and produced by Will Preisner, music by Ned Wolfgang Kelly, voiceover by Alexia Kombu.